It's that time of the year where we sum up and reflect back. And today I wanted to be positive, so this is my list of the top 5 movies of 2024. Sadly, this year it was hard to get 5 movies that I really enjoyed that stood above the rest. Plus, there were a few movies that I really wanted to watch and review, but they're coming out on the last weekend of 2024. Looking at you, Nosferatu. So let's do honorable mentions. And the first one goes to Wolves, a movie that was available only on Apple TV that I watched only a few days after it was released, and honestly, I kind of liked it. Its main issue is the pacing and that its trailer kind of sells you something it isn't. But even after the trailer misguided me, I still like the dynamic between Brad Pitt and George Clooney in a movie that has nothing to do with the Ocean series or heists. And another mention is Beetlejuice. As it cannot be avoided, 2024 was chock full of reboots, remakes, and sequels. And yes, if you go back and watch my review of Beetlejuice 2, please go back and watch it. I really need the views. You can tell that I didn't particularly like it, and it was a bit disappointing. But then the big scheme of things, the movie was okay. It was about 30 years too late and had a story that made no sense, but it gave us a taste of what it could have been if Keaton and Burton would have worked together one more time. And I don't mean just on the Batman movies. Remember, Burton didn't used to like making any sequels, and he was kind of forced to work on Batman Returns. However, Beetlejuice 2 was okay, especially when you compare it to other sequels that came out this year. And we got to see Keaton elaborate more on the Beetlejuice character. We just carried the entire movie on his back. Number 5. Despicable Me 4. I kind of lost the taste for animated movies. Both Pixar and Illumination and DreamWorks, RIP, never was my thing. But some of them were really good, well-done stories that hooked me. But this time around, my kids really wanted to go and watch Despicable Me 4, mostly because they liked the Minions, like a lot of kids their age. Even though I would have gladly just put them in the theater for an hour and a half and stayed out scrolling on my phone playing stupid games, I went in and I was pleasantly surprised. The main story was decent and definitely knows the target audience, but silently, without telling anyone, it took so many small jabs and digs at Disney, the parent company of Pixar. It mocked it in a backhand sort of way and made it work within the story. And the best part of the movie is how it ties in and kind of wraps up this whole Minionverse, including all the Despicable movies and the Minion movies. And to me, it allows Illumination to come up with a fresh storyline and treat these last few years of success as phase 1, to borrow from the MCU. I just hope they don't go completely down that route. Number 4. Juror number 2. Coming in clutch at the end of the year, it is Clint Eastwood's last film, most likely both literally and figuratively. Juror number 2 is both a mystery detective story and also a courtroom drama, all wrapped up into one, led by Nicholas Hoult, the most versatile actor in Hollywood, not named Pedro Pascal. The movie was a slow burn thrill ride that kept you guessing all throughout the film on what is happening, what's going on, and who really did it, with the main theme of the movie being truth versus justice. For me, Eastwood on the directing side is a hit or miss when it comes to the story being told. I find some of them a complete snorefest and some really compelling and engaging. Juror number 2 grabbed me early and kept me interested, and that is hard to do when there's no action and no explosions. Just a good old-fashioned dialogue, mystery, misdirection, and superior acting. The only fault I see it is the same fault I saw in the movie Tetris, and Wolves for that matter. It was released on Apple TV and Prime Video, which hurts its circulation and the amount of people able to watch it or know it even exists. But I assure you, it is a great last hurrah by Eastwood and another great showcase for Hoult. Number 3. Longlegs. When Longlegs was released in theaters, I heard a good buzz about it. As I stated numerous times, and I would gladly say it numerous times more, I don't particularly like horror movies. And unless it's something that really takes my fancy, I won't go to the theater to catch it. But for a few weeks, my co-host on the show bugged me to catch it. And when it hit streaming, I did. What I found was not your traditional horror movie. It felt more like a crime thriller in the same vein as Silence of the Lambs. But Longlegs was different. It managed to blend in a little bit of the supernatural, or more like doubts about whether it is or isn't supernatural, until the truth gets revealed. I thoroughly enjoyed myself watching this movie and piecing together all the little clues and bits and pieces for myself. I loved Micah Monroe's acting in it more than I did of Cage, because she really sold me on her character and her story arc. Nick Cage being in this movie is just a bonus, because I do love his work in a small indie-like movie setting. And even through that thick makeup, he does manage to bring out his inner Cageisms that I particularly like. Number 2. Bad Boys Ride or Die. On my bingo card for this year, I did not have the 4th Bad Boys sequel on the winner's podium for me. I honestly wasn't even interested in the franchise, and I skipped watching the 3rd movie altogether until this year. So about a month before this movie came out, I watched Bad Boys for Life from 2020, and I was pleasantly surprised. So when this movie dropped, I was all caught up with the story. Honestly, I would put this sequel in terms of the series ranking as second to the original. It was back to being funny. It was back to being a solid action movie, and it was well executed. The two directors, Adil and Bilal, have a keen eye for directing an action movie and utilizing new technology in telling a story and showing off a great and innovative action set piece. Both Lawrence and Smith had more comedic moments and fun lines that really made the first movie in the franchise so good. And the fact that Will Smith, after all the shit that went down last year, was able to be humble enough to take an inside joke directly referring to that incident as a testament on how you do comedy well. Not to mention that one of the side characters gets a full redemption arc that turns him from a timid zero into a full-blown hero. And if you know, you know. The only unfortunate thing about this movie is that it should have been called Bad Boys for Life, playing on that double entendre, because if you have seen the 3rd movie, Ride or Die would have fit that one even better. But that's hindsight 2020, literally. Above all that, I had fun with the movie, and all I was thinking is, wow, this was a fun ride, escaping from the mundane and the harsh realities outside, because the movie just told a story and entertained me, something that the number 1 movie did it in droves. Number 1. Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm a huge fan of Ryan Reynolds movies. I just like his personality because, let's face it, he is Ryan Reynolds playing Ryan Reynolds in a Ryan Reynolds movie, for the most part. And I do enjoy that persona. Even though Deadpool 2 had its moments, I have to say that it was not a solid movie as the first Deadpool. So before watching the trailer for this film, I had nervous jitters. After watching the whole movie, I found a new appreciation for Ryan. He was tasked with the most impossible job in the world. Do a superhero movie for a franchise that is literally dying on the vine, which is of course the MCU Phase 4 and 5. But with Ryan, Sean Levy the director, and a battery of writers, they managed to do something incredible. Tie up loose ends in the MCU, allowing it to have a refresh point, which of course they will squander, fold up and wrap up the Fox Marvel universe, and mirror its parent company absorption into the Disney company with a slew of well-placed cameos, and make a multiverse story. And I cannot stress enough how much I detest multiverse stories, and make sense of it all and be funny while doing it. Deadpool 3 took a big dump on Disney, Fox, the X-Men universe, the MCU, and everything in between, while honoring the same people who were involved in the Fox Marvel films, plus honoring the comic book origins of Marvel itself in a way that was never done before, including Marvel Studios, and showing us that if you stick to the source material and show us character that we loved in their proper attire and look, people would respect that and they will show up. I watched this movie twice in the theater, something that I never do, and 3 more times when it came out to streaming, another thing I don't normally do. And if you strip down the story, it has gaping holes in it, but boy, it was fun, and boy, did it respect the fan, and boy, does it suck you in with some great music, great score, and great action, and of course, chemistry between its 2 lead actors that was crucial to the movie, and that carried on from real life into the silver screen. And that's why it is my favorite movie of the year, and as time goes by, it will be one of the best MCU films as a standalone. That's it. That is my list for the best movies of 2024. Leave me your rankings in the comment section down below. And of course, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And remember, hope is a good thing, maybe even the best of things. And no good thing ever dies. I'll see you on the next video.